This year, New York's encounter deals with the issue of identity, the search for the human face. A challenge for all of us, and we tend to think an even greater challenge for people with disabilities, although perhaps they have something to teach us. Jean Vanier has shared most of his life with people with intellectual disabilities and has created many communities that provide a place for people to more fully develop their humanity. He has agreed to answer a few questions and to share with all of you gathered in New York his experience of the quest for identity in these extraordinary circumstances. In your opinion, what is the fullness of human life, and how has living with people with disabilities taught you that?
The heart and the center of the human being is the individual conscience. In the Bible, they talk about the heart as being the center. But the individual conscience is something very special. It's the capacity of the human being to recognize love and to seek truth and to seek justice. It's what Mahatma Gandhi would talk about, the little inner voice. The little inner voice. Now, what is the mysterious, even with people with severe disabilities, they recognize that they are loved. You might say that some people with autism, it's more complex. Yes, let's not get into realities where there are some rather more complex realities about communication. How does a man with autism know that he is deeply respected and deeply loved? There's something in the child. The child knows whether he is loved. It's the eyes, it's the smile, it's a whole way of being. It's about tenderness, to approach people tenderly. That is a quality of touch. And that reveals to people, you are precious. By the way I look at him, you can look at people from above, you can look at people from below, or you can look at people just, you are you. We welcomed here, and I lived with him for a whole year, Eric, who was blind, who was deaf, who could not walk. He had very severe disabilities, and he had been in a psychiatric hospital for many years. He had been put in hospital when he was 2. His mother never visited him because she was too shocked. She was living off shock to have a child like that. So what is the role of L'Arche? It's to reveal to Eric, you are more beautiful than you dare believe. Because otherwise, he's in anguish. Who is he? Nobody wants him. Nobody loves him. He has been humiliated. Yes, there have been doctors and all sorts of good people, but who wants to live? So the whole reality of L'Arche is that we live together. And Eric, we had to learn giving him his bath, holding him in our arms, and communication through body. And this is somewhere the whole story. The Word became flesh. God became flesh to communicate through the body, through touch, and through a touch of tenderness. Tenderness is a way of listening without judging, without condemning. You see, the heart of the mystery of Christianity is, be compassionate as my Father is compassionate. Do not judge, do not condemn, forgive. So somewhere it's the communication that you are precious. And it's through that communication that Eric will discover he is someone. Also the assistants, they can come wanting to do good to people. And they have their diplomas, they're good people, they come in a culture where it's good to be good and so on. But it's not that's the question. It's to become a friend, to enter into a relationship, to look into the eyes, to touch people tenderly. So people with disabilities teach assistants what it means to be human. And to be human is to live tenderly and kindly. And the mystery of people with disabilities is they are seen at the bottom of humanity, of being no good. So people come as assistants, they have to change. They have to change, they have to discover that that person with disabilities is precious. And through giving the baths and so on, of course we have many in L'Arche who are capable and who are doing things, but some also are severely disabled. So a meeting is something special. And I say that if Jesus calls us to eat together is somewhere to have fun, to eat well, to drink well, when to give a meal. And Jesus says, if you do eat with the rejected, those who have been pushed to the periphery, then you shall become blessed. It's not the people with disabilities that see themselves as blessed. You will become blessed because things will change within you. You will discover that the secret of humanity is that we enter together into the human family, and each person is precious. And St. Paul even says that those who are the weakest are necessary to the body, which is the church.
What hampers or allows the growth of the human person? Is there anything particular about this process for people with disabilities?
First of all, it's a long road to grow in love. St. Paul says, what is love? In the 13th chapter of Corinthians, the first letter, he says, love is patience. Love is service. Love is to believe all, hope all, believe all, excuse all. And that doesn't come naturally. To be patient, you have to be in a situation where there is impatience. I mean, we welcomed some years ago Pauline, who was, had one arm paralyzed, a leg paralyzed, epileptic, but she was incredibly violent. And why was she violent? She had lived 40 years of humiliation in school, in the streets, in her family. Her family didn't want her like that. So to become human is to welcome the other who is different, because he or she is a human person. But it takes time, because we have to change. You see, we're in a culture of success and a culture of power, a culture of winning. And it's not a question of being better than you. I'm a person, I'm capable of love, you too. So we can meet. That is the beauty of the human face. The human face, in some way, is the revelation through your eyes, through your smile, that you are human. How to grow in that? It's not by reading books. It's not by doing good theology. It's doing what Pope Francis says. Go to the periphery. Go to the extreme limits, and there become a friend of the poor. And there discover that they will evangelize you, and discover also, if you listen, you will discover the wisdom of the poor. That wisdom of the poor can be those who are in the slum areas in Thailand or wherever it is. Somewhere, because we're in a culture of power. My group is the best group, I know. But to be human, it's not a question of I know more than you. To be human is that I can listen to you. That means that something has happened inside of me where I'm able to really be open to the other who is different. The difference of people with disabilities. But that difference could be in the slum areas. It could be in the broken areas of New York. How many people go into the broken areas of New York just to listen to people? What is your story? Tell me your story. I remember one of the people of L'Arche worked with people in prostitution in Australia. And she told me this story, that one day she was in Sydney the park of Sydney, and she met a young man whom she had followed a bit, accompanied, and he was dying of a overdose. And he said to her, just the last words, "You've always wanted to change me. You have never met me." And to meet a man who's been caught up in prostitution, tell me your story. And you'll find that he has had a story of pain, rejected by his parents, in a gang, and all sorts of things. Nobody has really listened to his story. And it's when we begin weeping together, then we can start really discovering the mystery. Mother Teresa, she started welcoming people who were dying. She didn't teach them. She took them in her arms, because it is through the body that you reveal that you are loved. Through a touch, through the eyes, through the face. It's the whole physical reality. Not to do something for, but to be with. So it was the touch of Mother Teresa on these people in the streets that revealed to them that they were important. So what we discover is that when we are with people who have been seriously rejected, pushed aside, that as we enter into a relationship, we are changed. And that is the story, which also means, do we want to change? Do we want to be transformed? Do we want to discover that the only thing that is important is to love people, not just to teach them, but to discover their beauty as human beings?
Limits of any types are usually viewed in our society as obstacles to freedom. How does your experience challenge this common belief?
Limits, we're all so limited. You know, we were born as tiny babies, and we will die as very fragile people. And the history of each one of us is to grow from littleness to gradually to discover who we are and what it means to be a human being. And then we start going downhill. I mean, I'm 86 now, but come and see me in 5 years' time, I probably won't be speaking. So there's something about, to be limited is to be human. To be illimited is to be God. And so the danger of people is to think they're God. But they're crazy. You know, it's that man in the gospel who said, I'm going to build up my barn and everything. And then God says, you're nuts. You know, you're going to die tonight. We can have a cancer that springs forth. What does it mean to be human? It's to love. And to love, we need to be loved. We need to live a relationship to live a relationship. And we all know that if a child has been abused as a child and violated sexually or physically, we know that that child will be in danger of not being able to grow humanly until maybe the day of their death. Maybe the day of their death they will discover something. So, to be limited is to be human. To be vulnerable is to be human. Because all of us, this night, we can have a diagnosis of cancer or something. And all of us, we know that at a particular moment, we will die. And that is the story of what it means to be a human being, to go from a sentiment of being able to do things to the deep understanding that we're all broken. We need help. We need to be loved. And as we fall into the period of sickness, we need help. We need love. We need kind, competent doctors. We need good nurses. We need a loving family. We need a community. We need to be together. And of course, the problem of humanity today is a highly individualistic, but we've lost the sense of community. And community is not just a group of people living together in a cloister. Community is about coming together for a mission. And the community of L'Arche is, we have a mission. And that mission is to reveal to people, however deep their disabilities, that they are precious, and then discover that as we do that, we are changed. So for that person that I spoke about in Australia, to listen to that man who has been in the prostitution, you need a community. If you're all alone, you're not going. We all need together, to be together, to give support to each other, to love each other, to sense that each one of us, we have a place in the body of Christ. And St. Paul says that those who are the weakest are absolutely necessary to the body of Christ. Because when we are weak, we say, I need your help. And it's until we say, I need your help, I cannot do it alone, then we become human. When we think we're God, when we think we have all the power, when we think we have all the knowledge and everything. No, humanity is to become weak, to discover one's gifts, but then also to discover, I need your help.